In this video, we will explain a book that is considered the spiritual father of all books that talked about money and talked about how to start your path to wealth from scratch. This book is over 80 years old, and it is for people who want to get rich, just an explanation of the book Think and Grow Rich by the very great author Napoleon Hill. In this video, I think it will be a rich video in every sense of the word, so you need a cup of coffee with words on it or your nice drink that you love. Wella, have fun. Welcome, my friend. This presenter asked us a question. Imagine, my follower friend. We were in the hall with more than 600 employees. Not one of us was able to reach the correct answer. 600 employees were unable to answer his question, and I will give you a question. His question is as follows: what is the first step you take to build your house? This is the question. What is the first step you take to build your house? The first answer we said is that the employment will be answered. He said it was wrong. What did we say? Correct? You have to get the engineering plan. He said wrong. We said, oh yeah, right. We lost our minds. Oh sheik of the land, you have to go by the land. He said wrong. Ha ha ha. Oh cover, oh cover. We kept giving him answers, and every answer we gave him said wrong. Mistake. Mistake. In the end, he gave us the correct answer, my friend, the follower, which is the first step you take to build your house. My friend, the follower is the idea. The title of the book is Think and Grow Rich, Think and Increase Wealth, Napoleon Hill. He did not choose the title of this book in vain and did not say think, except that the idea is the first step you take towards wealth, my friend. The follower, as soon as this influencer or the deceased gave us the answer, we were really shocked. The answer is very intuitive, but what occurred to us, and he told us everything you see in your life. He started with the idea of the house you live in, consisting of several floors. It started with the idea of the car that you drive, which radically changed our lives at all. It started with the idea of skyscrapers, the 7 wonders of the world. The plane that made you take off from Riyadh and reach New York in just 13 hours after we were traveling from Mecca to Medina. In the days, I started with the idea of something in this life begins with an idea, so it is very obvious that wealth will begin with an idea, and by the way, this is not new. You remember the book series, Rich Father and Poor Father, which is considered the best-selling book in history, talked about the subject of personal money. He told you the first thing that wealth is a thought, and poverty is a thought, and in order to become rich, you must transform your thoughts into the thoughts of a rich person, and you must start thinking about money and think about how to get money and create wealth. The first chapter in Napoleon Hill's book was called The Power of the Idea, and in it he was trying to prove to you that the idea has a very strange power, and the most powerful thing about the idea is that it turns into a dangerous reality. This is what my friend who is following. Any idea you have in your mind can be turned into reality. If you go back 2,000, 3,000 years, there would not have been any human being on this planet who could have imagined that there would be a human being who would board a plane and take off in it. But the strength is that the idea can turn it into a tangible reality, and I am telling you something. Your life that you are living today has often been shaped by your ideas that exist. I ask you a question. Where did the t-shirt you wear, the color and style of the t-shirt, come from? From the idea of decorating the room in which you live is a material embodiment of the ideas that were present in your mind. The wallpaper was present in your mind. The lighting places were present in your mind. The car you were driving was present in your mind. The major that you chose, studied, and graduated from was present in your mind. The lifestyle that you live, my friend, the follower, is often the embodiment of everything that was in your mind. By the way, you see, this is the law of attraction. What is the ritual? What kind of people are going crazy with these days? No, they sell codes that say, buy this code to grant you the wish you want. What's in it? No. The law of attraction, in short, is telling you that the ideas in your mind will turn into reality, so try as much as possible to fill your mind with the ideas you want. This is the law of gravity in a nutshell, and it is a logical and intuitive law that has no meaning. Innovation means. I'm asking you a question, for God's sake, do you expect that you can buy a yellow car? Have you ever thought about buying a car in your entire life? Yellow color? Hey man? Impossible. Something you will settle? If you think about it, Napoleon Hill tells you at the beginning of the book that in order to become rich, your mind must be saturated with thoughts of wealth. You must see everything around you as money and how to get money from it. The topic ended with this intellectual perspective: you will become rich, God willing. If you turn these ideas into reality, that is the goal of the book. Imagine Napoleon Hill very briefly, focus in this book on how to create an idea and turn this idea into reality. He will give it to you in the form of steps that we will discuss in the next few minutes, my follower friend. But always remember that everything in your life will start with an idea, a person. He had the idea of becoming a partner with Thomas Edison. Imagine Thomas Edison and a prominent Whedon who was a nobody in every sense of the word, with all kinds of obstacles. How does Thomas Edison arrive to offer him a partnership? Originally, he wasn't even at the financial ability to make him reach the city where Thomas Edison is, in addition to meeting the inventor. Is he ready to be an employee like this? Well, you're okay. Okay. You received me and met me, and who told you that I will make you my partner? That is, calm down a bit, but from here comes the power of the idea. The important thing is that long-lived Mr. Eden rode on a goods train, rode with the goods so that he could reach the city where Thomas Edison was, and when he arrived there it actually happened that he met Thomas Edison and offered him to work for him. And I hear the words of Thomas Edison, a text from the book that talks about a prominent person and says he stood there in front of me and looked like a homeless person, and it was clear that his appearance was decrepit. But there is something in his facial expression. I had the impression that he was determined to obtain what he sought to obtain. He says, I saw in him that he is a steadfast man who achieves exactly what he wants, and whatever the cost, says Thomas, and I have learned from my years of experiences with people that when a person really desires something to the point that he is ready to sacrifice his entire future to obtain it, he will inevitably succeed. He says I learned that if I see that a person is determined to get a certain thing, even if it costs him his entire future, he will achieve what he wants and get it. So I gave him the opportunity he wanted because I saw that he was determined to hold out until he succeeded, and what happened after that assured me that I had not made a mistake. Edison saw a completely homeless person, but saw in him a very strong determination to achieve the thing he wanted and turn his idea into a tangible reality, and this is the reason why Edison agreed to this person's request. So Napoleon Hill tells you that he hired him with him, and an ordinary employee continued, although the goal was to be a partner with Thomas Edison. But he was waiting for an opportunity through which he could stand out and achieve something. This is what Napoleon tells you. Again the opportunity came, but the opportunity came, as usual, in disguise and came in a strange form, and many people do not know how to catch the opportunity, and this part is very beautiful in the book. It says that opportunities come and come around us a lot, but their shape is strange. To the point that none of us can see that it is an opportunity. Opportunity may come to you in the form of a temporary defeat. Opportunity may come to you in the form of a certain trial. Opportunity may come to you in the form of adversity, illness, or anything. That is why many of us have opportunities, but we are unable to notice them. But our friend Barnes noticed the opportunity came 4 years later in the form of a product designed and invented by Thomas Edison, and with all regret the sales team failed to sell this product. It failed, a complete failure, to the extent that they used to say that we are wasting our time and wasting our effort, and this product is a failure and will never succeed. The first time he saw this topic, he told you this opportunity, so he took the products and started marketing and selling them, and he actually sold them, and he succeeded with such great success that he caught the attention of Edison and was impressed with him very, and this was the gateway through which Barnes became a partner to Thomas Edison. It was an idea that was in Barnes' mind, but what he wanted to reach Naples, And from this story he is prominent about this idea into desire, and this is the first step you must take in transforming your thoughts, my friend. The follower to a tangible reality, because it is an idea that exists in your mind, and a mere idea will never turn into a tangible reality. You must turn it into a desire. The idea comes to my mind that, by God, it is a beautiful Mercedes car. If I had this idea with a desire around it, call it a beautiful idea. If you want some Mercedes, you can say, now sir, by God, what you say is self-evident. You didn't bring anything new. No. Believe me, many of us have ideas, very beautiful ideas. But what turns it into a desire? I will ask you a question. How many people do you know? And you might be among them? You are the one who said, I have a great idea. If it appears on the market or on people, it will succeed and break the world and enter us. How many people do you know? Did he say this? I am very sure, and I told you that you may be one of them, but by God, I ask you, did you turn this idea into a desire? Did I really say I want to achieve this thing? I myself have a lot of beautiful ideas, and I feel like the smartest and most innovative man in the world, but I never turned them around to a tangible reality. Unlike my mother's caffeine channel, when the idea of explaining a book came to my mind, I turned this topic into a desire. That is why he tells you that the first step is to turn the idea into a desire. No, it is not just a desire. It must be an intense desire, exactly like what he called it. A very strong desire to realize this idea into a tangible reality. This brings me back to the story of Socrates, the very great philosopher, and I mentioned it in a previous video, but there is no harm in me repeating it to you, Jamil. One of Socrates' students came and said to him, teach me how to be wise. He said to him, okay, I will inform you about our appointment tomorrow at such and such time at the beach. We will meet there, and I will teach you how to become wise. When he came to him and they met, he said, come on. What do you think? Let's go into the sea for a while. He said, you entered the sea? He said, don't you want wisdom? He said, come, I will show you where the wisdom is. And they actually went into the sea, my observing friend. When they reached such and such a deep stage, Socrates grabbed the boy and drowned in the water. Oh, my friend who was following, he drowned, to the point that he almost breathed his last. When he saw him, he reached this stage, he got out of the water, and the first time the boy came out, try to take the largest possible breath. And then he told him, crazy, what's wrong with him? Kill me? I told you, teach me how to become wise and how to become dead. He said to him, listen to me. Okay, when you were under the water and you were about to die. What was more? Do you need it at this moment? He told him I needed air for breath. He said if you needed wisdom as much as you needed air, you wouldn't be drowning, you would become wise. By God Almighty, it is one of the strongest and deepest phrases and examples that reach the concept of passion and desire in a very eloquent manner. Indeed, if you do not have this strong desire for anything that you want to settle in life, it is not a condition that you will be rich, anything that you will not achieve, my friend. The follower is the first step to converting an idea into reality. It is to turn it into an overwhelming desire, a strong desire, and before I move on to the second, very beautiful step, let me tell you the story of the merchants who were caught in fires in Chicago and their shops were burned. Napoleon Hill says they were standing on the ruins. I mentioned the Song of the Ruins. By the way, the Song of the Ruins by Kulthum, composed by Al-Sunbadi, is the greatest Arabic song ever, and without any dispute, he says while merchants were standing and watching their shops were burned. In tones of despair, he got up and discussed it. They said, what do you think about rebuilding the stores again? We don't see a city? I changed Chicago, so he says that all of them unanimously agreed that they would see the city other than Chicago, except for one who said, pointing to the ruins of his burning shop, I will build the store, love me, and actually, this trader named Marshall was in DR. His desire was strong to realize the idea that was in his mind, and this is the difference between him and the rest of the traders. Now let us move on to the step that is no less important than the previous ones, my friend. The follower, after converting the idea into a desire, comes the role of the imagination in developing the plan. Any. The Fuller Institute, Shaw Wayne, and Delavine's Colors. What is this? Any? Isn't he getting married yet? The prisoner's satisfaction in the distance is 2 digits, and that is on music. Then Napoleon gave us very important steps that we use to turn our ideas into reality. He told you the first thing is that your desire and your idea must be specific. When you say I want to become rich, and I expect many of you who reach this limit in the video, there is a desire, albeit a very simple one, that he becomes rich, or at least improves his financial situation. So if you have a desire, you are a rich person. You must determine how rich you want to be. Do you want to be a person whose wealth is equivalent to $2 million? Or be a person whose wealth is equivalent to $2 billion? The difference is vast between the two. The first step in converting a desire into a plan is to be specific and put the number that you want to reach as a wealth rate. The second step is that you think about the thing that you are going to offer in exchange for getting this amount. He tells you that you should never expect that people will get rich without offering something in return, and we have mentioned this thing. The section in which we talked about the secret of real money, but for your sake, honey, I will repeat it also. Remember this talk, Zane. Money is the value of a point at the end of the line. The real, or the 100 reals, or the 500 that you are removing is a value stored in this form. For example, if an orange has a value of 1 real and you have 10 real notes with you, it means that you have stored the value of 10 oranges in the form of a 10 real note. Because in return they give you this money that constitutes this value. My money is nothing but a stored value in the form of paper, pounds, gold, silver, or whatever it is. After you say, for example, I want my wealth to be 100 million, you have to think about the value that is equal to this 100 million. What you offer to people in order to collect this 100 million is simpler than that, nothing. The third step is to set a date for achieving this wealth that you have set, and this is very logical. My reality, a matter of you saying I am a human being, I have an idea of being rich, and a desire to be rich, then, I said I want my wealth to be 100 million, then, I said okay. I will offer this value to get this 100,000,000, okay, and when? After 1 year? After 2 years, after 10 years, or after 50 years, you must have a specific time in which you achieve this goal. By the way, this is called turning desire into a goal or turning a dream into a goal, and as the very great Denzel Washington Grimes and the Jewels say, dreams without goals. Dreams will remain, my follower friend. So set a date in which to achieve this wealth, and then the final step is to establish the mechanism, means, or method that will lead you to this wealth, and all of these steps, my observant friend, were collected by Napoleon under one roof, which is creative imagination. He told you that you must have imagination. Be creative, you must have this skill that you can do, imagine and visualize the amount of wealth that you have. And imagine the value that you will offer in return for this wealth, and imagine the method or means that will lead you to something. The room you are seeing now, the decoration of the room I chose is in this way, influenced by the Fargo series, the first and second seasons. I chose this decoration because I present content on YouTube, and I did not present the content until a year later. And 2 months from the founding of the chamber, but it was just an idea, and I was sitting in the middle of the room square, imagining the furniture piece by piece as you are seeing now, my friend, the followers, the posters, the lighting, the library, the coffee machine. Everything. And there are things that I have not seen, God willing, and I will present them later. But in general, when I talk about imagination, I remember this thing, how I imagined the decoration of the canal, the shape of the canal, the logo of the canal, and if I did not have the ability to imagine, I would not have reached what I have reached today, or at least I could not put a clear plan to follow. People will be Nasser, and God Almighty tried. I tried to imagine, but I can't. As much as I try to imagine, I can't. Nothing new arrived, nothing beautiful reached my brain. Stopped by God, you long life, I expect, and God knows best because of two things. The first is that you overlook the topic that thoughts or the rope of thoughts is very thin, easier something, and the fastest thing to break is the rope of thoughts. So while you are thinking, you must be completely free of interruptions. Mobile phones, notifications, sounds, and people. Interrupting. You can never imagine. Try. You only sit for an hour. An hour, man, no disturbance. Lock the mobile phone, lock the room, there are no sounds, there is nothing, there is no laptop, there is no TV, there is nothing, you and a notebook and a pen, and try to imagine the thing you want to present, or the thing you want to settle. Believe me, you will have storms. My mind is strong, and you will come up with ideas that you never imagined that you could come up with before this. This is the biggest disaster and the biggest breaker of the rope of ideas. Do you want to think about Zane? Think without a mobile phone and think without the people you have, TV, or any source to cut the rope of thoughts. The second reason is that you may hate mathematics and physics, and I teach you why. During university days, one of the students asked a teacher for all of you or mathematics in that subject. Time, and teacher said to him, why do we study mathematics from the first moment in school until today? We are studying at the university every year, we study mathematics, and the disaster is that many lessons are repeated and repeated for us. Can you teach us the causal, teacher? After that, he was a very great teacher named Saleh Al-Hamidi, may God remind him of goodness, for me the best Saudi teacher who taught me, and without any amnesia was writing at the time, so he locked the pen and turned like this a little while and sat thinking, charisma, he was a strong charisma. He said mathematics, physics, science subjects in general, are intended to train your mind so that it becomes stronger in the matter of thinking, and becomes able to comprehend the huge subjects that you will study in the future, such as mathematics and physics. They are preparation materials that expand your perceptions and strengthen your thinking ability. Then he asked us a question. He said, I am now writing an equation on the blackboard. You all see the equation. Correct. We said, correct. He said, there are people in this class who see one number on the blackboard, and there are students in the hall who never see this number. One day he said that. I put my eyes on the blackboard, there is no number 1. What's wrong with you? He stood up and said, who among you sees the number 1, and 4 or 5 students raised their hands. I'm going to ILAT. It made me crazy. Imagine, my friend, how I am sitting. I'm telling you about someone sitting here on the bed, you don't see it, but there are other people watching us, and you see people in the comments saying, by God, what are we seeing? I am on another planet, nor another creature, nor did I die, nor what was the predecessor. So he stood up and said to me, oh so-and-so, teach us where's the 1. He said, teacher, the equation is multiplied by 1, and any number originally in life is multiplied. In 1 you put the number 7, the 7 that you see is multiplied by 1, and anything you multiply by 1 will give you the same number 7. 1 7, while you are walking, he says what he needs, we write the number 1, he said it is true, what did you tell him? By God, it is true. He said, and you, oh so-and-so? He also said the same thing as my friend, but a little different. He said, I see that the equation is multiplied by 1, but the 1 that I am seeing is the root of 2 divided by the root of 2, because anything, my follower friend, divided by itself equals 1. Oh, okay, God Almighty, from this moment on. I fell in love with mathematics, and I was one of the first to love it, But I reached the stage of love. I fell in love with this subject. So Professor Solid came back. May God remind him of goodness for the same student who asked. He said, I saw in many of you what they used to see in the same way, mathematics, expanding your thinking horizons. You have. May God remind you of goodness. Professor Solid, may God remind you well. And this is too much for me. By God, I am talking about in a separate video of his condition. He is great, very great, frankly, in general, in mathematics and physics. You see that I speak very much. And he creates many creative ideas, because Napoleon Hill said there are two types of imagination: in 80s imagination, and in creative imagination. Of course, what I hear is normal, but I say normal. I mean, he said that there are people who imagine things that already exist and are not innovative and not new, but the creative imagination is that it is a person who invents a very new idea, and whoever invents a very new idea that carries value for many people, he will break the world. Because by the way, this I have to comment on the comment. This is important. I first thought that I had to answer a new idea like this. Salvation means that it will succeed. No, it is not a condition, Nasser. Not every new idea is innovative. No one else has succeeded. It means that it will succeed. You can come up with a new and innovative idea, but no one wants it, because it does not provide any value to anyone. We go back to the topic, money. Money is a value, so a new innovative idea carries value. Here is the blow, my follower friend. Let me conclude this part for you with this beautiful quote. What does he say? That your desire must be specific and specify the number that you want to reach. He mentioned verses of poetry, but I will quote you the part of it that I liked the most. That life is just an employer. It gives you what life asks for. It is the owner of a company. It will give you what you want, the salary you want. But once you set the wage, you have to take on the task, meaning the number that you put and choose. You have to bear the difficult task that you will be with. So when you say, I want my wealth to be 100 million, other than when you say, I want my wealth to be 1 million, the bigger the number, the bigger the task. We all know that continuity is very important, and never give up at all costs. But take this very telling story, in which he tells the story of his uncle who was obsessed with gold, and decided that he would rent equipment to travel to a specific area, and start digging in it and get this raw gold. Farah traveled, and really, he dug and found raw gold in that area. He was very happy, and he liked to make the bite a little bigger. So he went back to the town a second time and gathered his relatives and convinced them that they were participating with him in the process of extracting this gold. So they paid him money, and they started hiring bigger equipment and more workers, and they really started digging for this like gold. They say they started digging, and with every meter they dug in that mine, hopes were increasing more and more, he says, but with complete regret they reached the stage of despair. There is no gold, and no matter how much they dig, they will never find gold. So he got up to limit the amount of losses. He said, it's okay for him to lose. I have enough effort, time, and money. We will suffice with this amount. In order for him to try to remedy himself and return the money to his relatives, he went and sold the equipment to one of the people present in this town where he was digging for gold, and he returned and repaid the debts he owed with his relatives. Aadr. Darby says that he is the person who sold his uncle the equipment to him. Very simply, he went and sought the help of an excavation expert. He went to the same place that his uncle used to dig instead of digging a new one, a new distance, and a new mine. He did not go to the same mine that Amari had dug for him, and the expert had taken him to this place where they finished digging. What is funny and painful, my friend? The follower said that the expert was 3 steps away from the place where they had finished. He said that there is gold here, and that person began digging, and he reached a very large reassurance of gold. Art Arabi Nama says that from that day his uncle learned a very hard lesson in life, and learned to never withdraw, whatever the cost. From what my friend, the follower, after that incident, was always repeating this phrase, I was 3 steps away from gold, I was 3 steps away from gold. Affected, very affected, And because of this situation, his uncle became one of the best salesmen who ever sold insurance policies at that time, and the reason was that he used to say that whatever the person I offered him told me he was buying the insurance policy. No, I will never quit, whatever he refuses. I will go astray. I'm trying. I really wanted him to buy an insurance policy, so he became one of the best salesmen in the field of insurance. He learned from the mistake of others in the gold mine and decided to never withdraw, no matter the cost. So you, my friend, the follower, are the same way, never withdraw. While you are trying to get rich and trying to achieve your dream that you want to achieve, keep in mind, there is a certain thing that is very important: eat it without machi, and without it, and let it make green machi and jerry. If you keep doing the same thing that you always do, you will continue to get the same results that you are getting. So continuing is very important, and not quitting is very important. But to repeat in the same pattern and the same method and the same method, this is wrong. You must learn from the mistake what you did in the past and change and try again. That is why Napoleon Hill used to say that when you have a plan that you try to implement and fail, go back and reformulate the plan, change it a little and go back to implement it. And if you fail, you come back, and the best of the plan is better and better than the other, and the application returned. And this is the non-withdrawal that we are talking about, not repetition, attempts to repeat the same thing and get the same results and say I am trying, not trying, but in a smarter and more realistic way. And Napoleon mentions a strange situation. It is narrated on the authority of an army commander who was leading a war, and when they reached the shore of the enemy, he burned all the boats and said to them, "O soldiers, have you seen that we burned all the boats? There is no chance that we will come back alive. Unless we win this battle, then victory is the only option we have, and there is no room for withdrawal at all. And really, my follower friend, this leader won this battle and this war." And I conclude this point with the greatest quote I have ever seen in this book. And he said, "Right, keep this quote in the mirror of your eye always and forever. Put it on a board in the room, on the background of the mobile phone, on the door, and everywhere. The quitter never wins, and the winner never quits." Never. And the parts that I did not explain in this book, my friend who is a follower, were all about the subconscious mind, the power of the subconscious mind, and auto and external suggestion, and how you can control your subconscious mind. Remember, my friend follower, that it all starts with the idea that if your mind wants to get rich, you will not get rich at all. Turn the idea into a burning desire. Turn that desire into a plan, and never quit at all costs. This was a book, Think and Increase. The follower does not skimp on it, and the like that you will give me on this video expresses your admiration.